Well, looks like we were going to have a slow news day on Saturday. I may take today off of lockdown. Oh my God, Shohei Ohtani signed.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Shohei Ohtani fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball, and especially Shohei Ohtani. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I'm an Emmy-nominated television producer who is not making $700 million over 10 years, although, who knows, next year may turn out all right. And I've been a podcast host for over a decade, and I've now done 5, looking on my 6th year here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Where's your team every day? Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and on Instagram. And I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter or whatever it's called now. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. And if you listen every day and you want to post on one of those sites, put a hashtag Everyday Sully, because why not? And hey, let's just tie all the loose ends. The last trivia question was, what was the last team to have their minor league team in Denver? John Murphy Jr. got it. The Denver Zephyrs were the AAA team of the Milwaukee Brewers. I've gotten everything out of the way in less than 2 minutes. People are watching on the live stream. Shohei Ohtani signed a 10-year contract for all the money in the world. And my guest in a car. He's in his freaking car. He said, let's go do it. Oh, I'm in the car. Too late. We got Jeff Snider from Locked On Dodgers. Jeff, hi.
Hi. To be fair, the car's not moving. I'm at my son's wrestling tournament, and they were on a break, and my son has alerts set up. I don't have alerts set up on my phone, so it was my son who elbowed me in the ribs and said, Shohei signed with the Dodgers. And so I had to hop on Twitter and see if it was true, although I don't know why I thought Twitter was going to be the conveyor of truth this time. But it came straight from Shohei's mouth. It was, and, this is cheesy. Sully, your dad. My son and I, after, it's been 15 minutes or so now, whatever, we gave each other a hug, and I told him, I said, this is going to be a moment we remember forever. Sitting at your tournament together and sharing that moment when Shohei signed with the Dodgers. Like, it's cheesy, it's dumb, but that's why I love baseball, because it's cheesy and dumb and it gives me family experiences. And holy crap.
Yeah, thanks for saying crap. I don't want to get a TVMA here.
I'm not Sully.
Yeah, we are going to, by the way, we're doing this live because I just want to get this out there as soon as possible. I see we've got a bunch of people watching. I see we've got a bunch of people sending comments. Don't worry. Towards the end of the show, we will indeed get to all your comments and talk about everything. But let's just talk about, look at, the relief is my finger is no longer broken from hitting refresh on Twitter or whatever it's called now, trying to get the information. Once again, my predictions are, as always, terrible. I thought Shohei was going to sign a short-term deal, like a 2-year deal, to establish that he could be a pitcher again, and then go off into the wild. When someone shows up and says, "Here's 700 million tomatoes," when someone shows up and says, here's $700 million, I think you say, hey, all the other strategy is out the window. Let's sign for that.
Yeah, I don't think Shohei was ever considering a short-term deal because, free agency, you see how people go crazy. Like, I remember, who was it, Carl Pavano, that people went crazy over in free agency? This is Shohei Ohtani. We can do all the analysis we want during the season and when things are rational, but when it comes down to it and the bidding war starts, it's going to go crazy. So there was never going to be any need for Shohei to take a short-term deal. It's the Dodgers usually aren't the high bidder in situations like this, but that when they decide they want somebody, it is interesting. I saw a note from Robert Murray and a couple other people that most of the money is deferred. And we don't know for how long, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers are paying this $700 million over the next 30 years.
And by the
And
way, I want to just say one thing along those lines about deferred money and teams paying players off like many years later. I make this point every single year when people try to laugh at the Mets regarding the Bobby Bonilla signing that he signed. Like he gets every year he gets another $1 million from the Mets, and people laugh at the Mets for that. That was an extraordinarily smart move for the Mets at the time because it freed up a lot of payroll. It freed up some flexibility that allowed them to. There's a direct correlation between deferring Bobby Bonilla's payment and acquiring and signing Mike Piazza to a long-term deal. And I'm
did
going to
Piazza
go
turn
out
out
on
all
a
right?
limb and say the acquisition of Mike Piazza turned out to be a positive one for the Mets. Sorry, I know you're a Dodger fan. He should have been the greatest offensive Dodger in their team history, but still.
Yeah, I don't blame the Mets for that. That was the Dodgers' fault. But yeah, these are smart things. And to be clear, the 30 years is total speculation by me. We don't know at this point, at least when I hopped on it, we don't know how long the deferrals are.
We
But
barely know
whatever it
anything.
is, if the Dodgers are paying him 25 million bucks a year for the next 30 years, that's chump change. Like the Dodgers are going to make more than 25 million dollars a year, well, just because they have Shohei Ohtani under contract. They've probably made $25 million in jersey sales in the half hour since this news was announced.
Oh,
Like, it's ridiculous. And so, and the fact that it was Shohei's idea, like that he is focused on, he brought up the idea of deferring the money so that they could continue to build around him. Like, it underscores the fact that most of Shohei's money is going to come from endorsements anyway. He's going to make 100, 200 million bucks a year in endorsements. Deferring his $70 million a year salary is not that big a deal.
and for the Dodgers, I mean, we all watched Angel games last year in the last few years. They especially whenever Otani came to bat, all the rotating ad screens turned to Japanese characters and Japanese corporations. The amount of ad space that they're going to get, knowing that he's immensely popular in America, of course, but his popularity in Japan is through the roof. Uh, it's going to be, you could just fill those out. You saw that in smaller scales when Hideki Matsui was in New York, when Ichiro Suzuki was in Seattle, even to a lesser degree when Nomo kind of was the first one through the wall to be the first Japanese star of the modern era in American baseball. So just in terms of the the sales, the ticket sales, the merchandise sales, and the corporate sponsors that are going to come to the Dodgers. I mean, that was the reason why in the during the season I said, Angels, just find out what he wants. Now,
Yeah,
and if they couldn't, and of course the point I made was find out what he wants, and if you can't meet that, trade him immediately, because right now the Angels got what, a draft pick for him?
yeah. Hey, and it, there's a reason we call Otani a unicorn, and it's not just what he does on the field,
Right.
because he might be worth the 70 million a year just on the field if he comes back as a dominant pitcher and continues to hit. He might be worth it just on the field, but off the field, he is even more of a unicorn because of this international appeal. Like, how would it be the most talented baseball player in the world and extremely good looking and have multiple countries basically worshiping you? And also like being a super nice guy. Like,
Well,
I can't relate to any of those.
I can relate to almost all those.
You're not a nice guy.
No, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. But just look at. I think this is the amazing thing is I mean, going into in 2024, either Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts are the third best player on the team. One of those two, the highest they can hope for is to be. It's like one of them will be the third best uh, player on the team, which just shows you a little bit of the unbelievable, just the absolute unbelievable talent that's on the team right now. And let me tell you something. I mean, you're going to stick around for just a second here, but I got to tell you something. I think it's just going to be an absolute surefire bet that the Dodgers are going to be the favorite. Hey, are you thinking about making bets? Are you thinking about making bets on the NFL? You thinking about making bets on how well the Dodgers will do? Well, do you know what? There's no better time to go on FanDuel, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150. Think about how many $150 that Shohei Ohtani could put together. I digress. If your team wins, if you think about joining FanDuel, this is the best time. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season, because FanDuel is an official sponsor of the National Football League. All right, Jeff Snider is not a bad father. His son is on a break at his wrestling tournament. Had to get him on here right now. Let's do one more segment together here, buddy. Look, the Dodgers have won 100 games in almost every year since 2017. The one year they didn't, they still made it to the World Series. And the other year was, of course, COVID, so they didn't even play 100 games. They won 100 games last year and, of course, got unceremoniously trounced by Arizona. You and I have said that that was a little bit of a fluke, and probably more. I know Kershaw got most of the heat, but it may have been more on Freeman and Betts wetting the bed in games 2 and 3. Now, how do I say this delicately? There are high expectations in Chavez Ravine, and winning the division is not going to cut it, which puts the spotlight directly on Dave Roberts to deliver World Series championship number 2 and first in a 162-game season.
Yeah, and the spotlight's not on Dave yet, because right now the spotlight's still on Andrew Friedman, because I've been saying all offseason just signing Shohei Ohtani would be awesome, but it's not a complete offseason, because obviously it helps the offense. Unfortunately, we don't know how Shohei Ohtani performs in the postseason, because he's never gotten that opportunity yet. We will find out in 10 months. But the Dodgers do need some pitching help. And so Ohtani is a great first step, or whatever step he is, first big step. But, whether it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto or trading for Dylan Cease or Tyler Glasnow or a couple of those things, they still need starting pitching help. And they probably need another outfielder. So maybe it is a, Glasnow and Randy Arozarena kind of trade. And I know people who aren't Dodger fans who listen to this are screaming at me about being selfish and feeling entitled as a Dodger fan. But the fact is, we are the best team and we deserve the best, and so there is still work to be done for Andrew Friedman and Brandon Gomes this offseason. Then it gets to Dave Roberts. But, this isn't quite a complete team yet. It's obviously a better team than it was an hour ago. But there's still work to be done this offseason. And then, and then it's like the hard part about the postseason thing is you got to play the regular season first. And the Dodgers have proven they can dominate in the regular season. And so that's just going to be fun. And you know me, I like to focus on the fun of the 6 months before we get to the stress of October. But the fun of the 6 months and then get into October and win another World Series there. It's I'm glad that I don't have to stress about October for another little while.
So who leads off? Who bats second? Who bats third?
Mookie Betts is going to lead off. That's where he's most comfortable. And obviously he's a dominant force there at leadoff. After that, it's Freddie Freeman has batted second and third in his career. If they do want to, sometimes Dave Roberts likes to mix up the lefty righty, but I don't think you can really afford to do that when you've got Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani. They're going to bat back to back, so they're going to be 2 and 3.
I'm sorry, you don't do lefty righty when you're
worry about that at the bottom of the lineup. Yeah,
the only reason that would work is if you had like Ohtani lead off and Betts and then Freeman. But I think you have to lead off Betts.
Yeah,
and
I would guess.
I would go Betts, Freeman, Ohtani. That's what I would do.
I'd probably flip Freeman Ohtani simply because of Ohtani's speed.
True.
And Freeman's doubles. An Ohtani double is less likely to drive in Freddie Freeman than a Freeman double is to drive in Ohtani.
Either way, it's a good dilemma to have when you.
And then Will Smith at cleanup and Max Muncy after that, and then after that, see who else is on the team by the time the season starts. But your top 5 is kind of set in stone there, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And do you think they got a shot at Yamamoto?
I do. I think I don't. If I figured out that Shohei Ohtani isn't a complete offseason for the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman's a lot smarter than I am. He knows that there's more work to do, and I don't think they go in on Ohtani like that if they're not willing to really, really go for it all. And Yamamoto is the next step in going for it all. Doesn't mean that they'll get him, because free agency is the definition is the player gets to choose where he wants to play. But I don't see any point in the Dodgers getting outbid for Yamamoto after outbidding everybody for Ohtani.
Fair enough. I think this will embolden the Giants. I think the Giants are going to go full in on. And you know what? I know this isn't your team, but part of me feels a little relief for the Angels right now that they can turn the page and say, look, that was a failure. The Trout Ohtani collaboration probably was very profitable, but it was time to turn the page and maybe hopefully learn the lesson of, you had 2 generational talents as teammates and you couldn't put a 500 product on the field.
Yeah, one of my good friends, I coached my youngest son's baseball team with him. He is an Angels fan, and he was one of the first ones to text me after this news. My phone's been blowing up this whole time we've been talking, but he texted me, and he's been kind of resigned for a while. There's been lip service in it, but the Angels haven't been in it. The Angels fans have known that Ohtani was gone for many months. And so, I don't think this is a sad day for them. I do think, like you said, it's like okay, well, we can stop pretending that it hasn't happened yet and move on.
All right. Well, look at Jeff Snider. Where can people listen to your terrific show?
It's Locked On Dodgers. You can listen to all the same places you listen to Locked On MLB here. I'm over on Twitter or whatever it's called at Snidog, SNIDOG. And Vince and I will be hopping on Locked On Dodgers Live as soon as we can arrange it here in the next hour or so, hopefully.
Okay. Well, thanks for hopping on, buddy. And, next time, get some star power.
Hey, we're working on it, man. Thanks, Sully.
Man. Good luck with the wrestling tournament.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a quick little break here, and then we're going to get to some of your comments. Hey, just a quick reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever National Sports 24/7 streaming service on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts on Locked On, plus our national sports covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever National Sports 24/7 streaming channel. Okay, let's just see we've got a lot of people putting in. Jeff Cohen, buddy, says, thank you, Sully. The Bobby Bonilla deal was good at the time. Jeff Cohen, big Mets fan. He gets it. He understands it. But not everyone sees the good side. Channel name. I don't know what that is. Maybe his name is Channel Name. The Dodgers are taking a huge risk. No, 2 Tommy John surgeries. I think it's a risk worth taking, even if you only get his bat in that lineup. What do we got here? How many baseball caps could you buy with $700 million? At least $1 million, depending on where you buy your caps. Andres loves baseball, writes he bleeds blue. Guess what? So does Ohtani it this way. This one I kind of dig this one here. Canal Oficial del Aguacate Dominicano says, I don't know why the surprise. In a way, I get it. I understand. I thought he was going to sign a long-term deal with the Dodgers as well. I've been predicting that. I did think he was going to do the short-term and a long-term. But as I said earlier in the show, when someone says, here's $700 million, you know what? I think Jeff Cohen said it best. That's a lot of shekels. Who else has stuff to say here? Oh, John Murphy Jr. says the rich get richer. Dodgers go from a team with 100 wins and annual competes for World Series to a team that wins 101 games and annual competes for a World Series. Let me tell you something, John Murphy Jr. The fact that over the last 30 some odd years, the Angels and the Dodgers have won as many World Series titles, that's getting under the craw of a lot of Dodger fans. And Jeff Cohen says the obvious, don't believe that baseball is in financial trouble. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Kyle King says Shohei Ohtani will make $192,000 a day for the next 10 years. And do you know what? That's more than I make as a public school teacher. Brad Horn says he's an everyday Sully. Thanks. Can you shine any light on what deferrals might be in the contract? Well, I did not sit in on the contract negotiation, so I don't know all the details at this point. Pretty much all I know right now is Shohei Ohtani is going to be paid until the heat death of the universe. So I'm not sure about that. And I do know that Shohei Ohtani the fourth will be able to go to law school without taking out a loan. Canal Oficial de Aquica Dominicano. If I say any of those words right, let me know. Prediction: Ohtani will pitch a few games at the end of next year, and then he'll be injured. Adios, $700 million. Sounds like someone's bitter. What else? Who else is on here? Let's see. John Murphy Jr. I already covered that. I do not know anything about the deferments. People were asking me about that. Angel Rodriguez. I hope you're not an Angel fan, buddy. Ohtani went to the easiest, most lucrative route. Yeah, good call. Understandable for sure. Wish he would have gone somewhere else where he could be his team, like the Jays or the Dodgers. I get it. And the Jays were an intriguing situation, but here's the deal. And this is coming from someone who lives in Pasadena. It's kind of nice here. And he clearly liked living in Southern California. He just didn't like being on a team that had no chance to win. He kind of wants to do that and, collect $700 million. Oh, I thought of this. Kyle King wrote, if Kershaw comes back, there'll be over 5 MVPs in the field at one time. That's true. And I do hope Kershaw comes back even in a reduced role, because I'd like to see him get another ring, because will get another ring. Let's rain on the parade here. Easy for you to say. Jay says the Dodgers have no pitching right now. Don't know if that's 100% accurate, but their pitching is still pretty weak right now. And it could be their potential Achilles heel. So, no, this does not clinch anything right now. They do still need to add to their pitching staff. Kyle King writes, I read that. So glad Dave Roberts is admitting they met the most desirable free agent in a generation that didn't bite him in the butt. Good call. Betts, Freeman, and Ohtani, what a way to start a lineup. Yeah, that's pretty good. Why can't the Red Sox get players like Mookie Betts? But yeah, that's a pretty dang good start to the lineup. And you start, I guess you have to go Betts, Ohtani, Freeman. Yeah, I mean, any way you put it, that's going to be decent. And, the whole thing of like who has speed, who doesn't, that really gets overrated after the first inning. You want to have those three have the most at-bats, get up the most time. So, look, I have to say, just personally, as someone who lives in LA County, I do not claim to be a Dodger fan because I'm not. But I love baseball, and I live in Los Angeles County. And I am surrounded by Dodger fans, and I work with Dodger fans. And I already got 4 texts from people who I work with who are big-time Dodger fans, who are elated, over the moon. And I have yet to hear anything from my Giant fan friends, who some of them are still holding out. I actually think Yamamoto is going to sign with San Francisco. I think this is going to embolden the Giants. And I also think that the Dodgers are going to wind up making some trades for, some good pitchers. I don't think they're going to get an ace, but I think they're going to try to make some good pitchers. Or, do you know what? We're not even saying it. The reigning National League Cy Young Award winner is available in Blake Snell. Remove him from San Diego, put him in the rotation. And when was the last time Snell pitched in the World Series? It was against the Dodgers when Kevin Cash made one of the single worst World Series managerial decisions in the history of baseball. Well, look this is an absolutely wild day. And now let's see the other dominoes fall. So much for this week being a slow news week and me holding on until putting another show out on Monday. So anyway, by the way, let's just break this down. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On plus the national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel. And hey, here is a trivia question for today. Jeff Cohen says, "Hey Shohei, can you spare a dime?" Yeah, Shohei, give me 1 day's worth of salary. 1 day's worth of salary, and I'll be okay here in Pasadena. Trivia question for today: Shohei Ohtani is the latest to sign a 10-year free agent contract. Here's the trivia question: who is the first major league player since the advent of free agency in the mid-1970s to sign a 10-year deal? Who was the first 10-year deal? Ohtani is the most recent. Who was the first one? So, wow, fun day, fun, cool day. Talking with Jeff Snider, who jumped on, who was in. I texted him immediately. Said, "You got to get on the show." He said, "I'm in my son's wrestling tournament." I said, "Let me know when he has a break." He got a break. Thanks so much for joining us from your car. And for everyone else who watched the live stream, and for those of you watching on YouTube and listening on your earbuds, this has been Locked On MLB for the 9th day of December 2023. It is Shohei Day. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.